He's Mike Florio. You can catch Mike Florio's Pro Football Talk every weekday at 5:30 Eastern on NBC Network. What'd you learn last night?
I learned that the Jaguars did a very good job
Of keeping
it
yes.
quiet, keeping it close to the vest. No smoke screens, no misdirections. They just didn't say anything. I mean, it was so obvious last week when Ray Farmer, the GM of the Browns, comes out and says, boy, we really hope Sammy Watkins is there at number 4. We really hope, so we can trade the pick to the Bills. That's why they hope he's there. So you can't believe anything. And the Jaguars just kept their mouths shut and went about their business. And all of a sudden, here comes Blake Bortles.
I was talking to Daniel Jeremiah, who was just in the NFL, former NFL scout, and I said, do we screw this up as the media? Because we start our mock drafts now. And then you project and you say, oh, this kid is going to go number 1. When they fall, then we blame the kid. We created the heights, the slotting here. The teams get around and go, no, Teddy Bridgewater's not a top 5, 10, 15 pick.
And, a lot of it is just for fun and games, and it creates a context for having debate and discussions because nobody really knows. And it's 32 different teams, and they're more unique than snowflakes when it comes to what they think of these players and what they need. Nobody knows what the teams are going to do. But here's where it becomes a problem. You get one of these kids that we all start saying is going to be a top 5 pick, and that gets into his head, and his family hears it, and his friends hear it, and then all of a sudden, it's not that he fell. It's he never should have been there in the first place. So he spends a year. What was the quarterback from Kentucky? Remember that kid that McShay was high on, and I think he was taken in the 7th round.
Not Jared Lorenzen.
No, not him. No, a little bit skinnier, but then again, that would include everybody in the world.
Woodson? Andre Woodson?
May have been. But it was a kid that somebody, I think Mache was all over him as a first-round pick, and I heard from scouts saying, why is he pumping this guy up? This isn't going to happen. So the kid spends a year thinking he's going to be a top 5 pick, and I don't think he lasted very long. I think the Giants took him in one of the late rounds, and he just never stuck.
As far as who had the big night? I don't know. I don't like doing winners or losers.
No, it's all incomplete.
Yeah.
And by the time we know, nobody cares anymore. The draft expert is the ultimate scam because there is no accountability unless you got to wear a sandwich board in your underwear. And you maybe start a new trend here because these guys say whatever they want, and then once the draft is over, we forget it all because it filled the void from January until May, and now we start getting ready for football season. And once they're all in the same blender, how many of these guys are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Manziel. We'll talk about Bridgewater. We'll talk about Bortles and Clowney. Beyond that, if a guy does something, we'll pay attention. Otherwise, we're not going to say, well, that guy was a 5th-round pick. And I was saying all along that was great value, and he started 13 games and he had 15 tackles. Nobody's going to say any of that. We just move forward with the game.
Manziel fell because?
I think he landed where he was always going to be. I think the big concern with him is durability. When I watched the Chick-fil-A Bowl with him getting banged around by Duke, that was Duke banging him around. He takes hits like that at the NFL level. He's not getting up. So you either have to develop the instinct, which you can't develop, which is why it's an instinct, to avoid contact, or the thing about Russell Wilson that makes him unique, he reminds me of Barry Sanders in that Russell Wilson knows how to position himself when the hit is coming so he never gets hit squarely. So he doesn't get hurt. He gets hit a lot, but he doesn't get hurt because he knows how to take the hit. That's not something that you can decide to do. That's something that's hardwired into just the way you are. And, I mean, we've seen Manziel get thrown around like a rag doll. He gets up and he keeps going. That's one thing to do it against Duke. It's another thing to do it against the Steelers. Week 1.
RG3.
Welcome to the NFL, Johnny Manziel.
But he's not going to be starting.
Who are they going to start? Vince Young?
Hoyer?
He's got that torn ACL. And, I mean, there's going to be a big push now. It's going to be hard to stem the Johnny Manziel tide.
I would hate to be Brian Hoyer because unlike Russell Wilson, who was better than Matt Flynn and got the starting job, I don't know if Johnny Manziel is ready to start, but there's going to be such a push to get him in there.
But that's what they look for. And with, we say that the Seahawks were gutsy in elevating Russell Wilson over Matt Flynn when they gave Matt Flynn all that money. Mm-hmm. When Russell Wilson hit the practice field, it was obvious. He took over. And if Johnny Manziel does that and it becomes obvious, then it's not a gutsy decision. You're doing the thing that prevents a mutiny when you make Russell Wilson your starting quarterback because everybody on the team knows he's the guy. Can Manziel do that over Hoyer? I'm never going to doubt this kid. I will doubt him from a physical standpoint. Can he stay healthy? But from the standpoint of taking over a team, ingratiating himself to the other players, the fans, the local media, they're going to love this guy. They are going to want this guy to be on the field week 1 against the Steelers.
I guess when you look at this situation here with Manziel, that he did everything that you would want a guy to do. He proved himself at the highest level, the SEC. won a Heisman. There's still doubts about him, and I didn't know off the field. Charlie Casserly said he's not going in the first round. And he said it's because off the field issues. I don't know what else is out there. And I said, I know what Mansell's doing off the field for the most part because they're pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know what these other guys are doing off the field.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times the draft experts will say a guy's not going in the first round because they want to be able 2 or 3 years from now to go back and say, I was right all along. He shouldn't have been a first-round pick. The Browns were wrong. I was right. This guy shouldn't have been a first-round pick. And people get their opinions, and they won't set aside their opinions and be objective about where the wind is blowing. And the wind was blowing Manziel to Cleveland. And, I mean, a lot of the things he did were just normal. There's just normal stuff. And at a certain point, you have to understand normal for you is going to be a big deal. But the guy's been under a lot of scrutiny, and he seems to get it. He seems like a smart kid, and he seems to be genuine. And, the Browns, I mean, they haven't had anybody since Bernie Kosar, have they? Who they had to play quarterback? And technically, I mean, I know Browns fans don't like to hear it, but he played for the Ravens, not the Browns. The Browns, since they came back to the league in '99, haven't had anybody.
Didn't Anderson have a
one
good
year,
season?
1 year. And then when it got close to playoff time,
yeah,
that's when he started gripping the ball a little too tightly, and that continued into the next year, and then the Brady Quinn era began.
I saw the 3 guys in Cleveland Browns jerseys yesterday.
I met those guys.
Yeah, they had...
The draft Manziel?
No. They had Couch, Fry, and Brady Quinn. So they all had a different jersey walking around Manhattan.
I saw a picture at one point. Somebody had a jersey with all the names of all the quarterbacks since '99, and it like goes down your leg. and that's the thing, that these fans are desperate for somebody who will make the team relevant. They don't have to win a Super Bowl.
I think
Let's
they're
just get
a
to the playoffs.
I think they're a playoff team.
Well, look at all the picks they got.
I really do.
You know what they should do now? If they really want to go all in, they should sign Jimmy Graham to an offer sheet.
Well, they got a tight end.
Well, but you add Jimmy Graham, you make Jimmy Graham a receiver. He's not a tight end, he's a receiver, right? That's according to the grievance. But you know what, on that point, the Bills should have just signed Jimmy Graham instead of... They gave up more for Sammy Watkins than it would take to get Jimmy Graham from a draft pick standpoint.
I like Watkins.
I know, but the guy's never played in the NFL.
Yeah.
The bust rate at receiver is so high in the NFL. You just don't know until the guy shows up. I'd have taken Evans. Evans is safer because he's bigger, because this guy's going to get pushed and shoved and thrown off his routes and tugged and held. A lot of these receivers, when they got a grown man across from them at the line of scrimmage, they can't make that adjustment.